What's up, my skeptics? It's your boy, Young Contrarian, on the Young Contrarian podcast. You're watching this on AFK TV. Thanks for tuning in. Also, how's it going, y'all? I hope you're having a good day. We're going to talk today about prayer changes things. So, there's this small billboard near one of my jobs I was working recently, and as you pass, you'll notice a square sign covered in like 4th of July style pomp and circumstance. Kind of like fireworks, red, white, and blue, that kind of stuff. And in bold letters, it says, prayer changes things. And underneath that, like Corinthians, whatever, wherever you can find it in the Bible, basically. Now, this is probably one of the least offensive Christian propaganda billboards that I've come across over the years. In my opinion, the most offensive one was an Adopt a Street sign that had nothing to say on it except for a Bible verse, basically. Well, not even the verse itself, just where to find it in the Bible. I wondered, basically this Adopt a Street thing is where you can pay a nominal fee to have almost whatever you want said on a government erected sign. And this one, it was on the street I grew up on, and it said something like Friends in Need Ministries, which sounds, innocent enough. And then a Bible verse, just the where to find it, not the context of the verse itself. And then when you actually look up the verse, it's, again, pretty harmless, pretty innocent. It's something like, do everything you can for your fellow man, God is watching, or something like that. And my point is, did they find a legitimate loophole to post Christian propaganda on government signage, or did they basically just find a way to skip past the separation of church and state precedent? I don't know. I feel like they're really going against some kind of law there. But anyways, I digress. Today we're talking about the prayer changes sign that was near my recent job. And the more I passed it, the more I kept thinking about what it's really trying to say. Basically, no person who has ever lost a limb and was prayed for ever grew that limb back. It just doesn't happen. So, obviously, there's a limit to what prayer can change. But realizing that, wouldn't it make the whole house of cards fall down on itself? If an omnipotent, all-powerful God can't change an amputee back into a fully able person with an arm or whatever, then he's not all-powerful. And besides, there's a famous study where in a double-blind test, prayers were said over patients, and some patients weren't prayed over. And basically, ironically, the patients that were prayed over actually got worse. So prayer can't heal an amputee, and in a double-blind scientific study, somehow prayer made the people worse. So prayer can't even heal people. Then what does prayer do? Well, depending on how hard you think, how loud you pray, and how tightly you clench your fists, it changes the amount of calories that you can burn. Depending on how long you talk before a meal, it might change the start time of dinner from 7 o'clock to 7:01 or 7:02. Or belief in prayer can change you from a rational-minded person to a literal believer in real-world magic, change you from a well-rounded critical thinker into a gullible tithe giver. Basically, all it does is change you into a confirmation-biased pattern seeker. Because when people pray, it usually is either for selfish reasons or what they would view as a positive outcome in their lives or others. When the help doesn't come or the prayer isn't answered, we just ignore the fail state. But that one time that $1,000 check comes just when you need $1,000, Christians find their new testimony. That's right. When mundane, everyday coincidences befall believers, if it was close enough to what they prayed for, it changes them into an even more faithful individual than before. Even though the prayer itself had no physical impact on the real-world circumstances. The outcome was what was desired, and that is enough to make another lifelong believer out of another gullible mammal. My mother once told me a story. I'll spare a few details, but back in the late 80s, my mother was diagnosed with incurable cancer. This obviously led to immense prayer. The more she came to get checked out, the less time they gave her to live. She had sold the house, wrote a will, took the kids to Disneyland one last time and said some of her last goodbyes, and then she passed 7 kidney stones. When she went to get checked, her, air quotes, cancer was all gone. She claimed this to be a miracle and the one that affirmed her belief in not only God, but prayer. I've heard this story more than once, and in my older age, I told her, Mom, that wasn't a miracle. That was a misdiagnosis. Hell, sounds more like a malpractice lawsuit to me. They said you were going to die, and you prepared for that fully. Then, poof, oops, our late 80s medical tech scan showed a blotch, and the guess that makes us the most money was to say it was, basically to presume it was cancer. I would sue my doctor if they told me some calcium buildup in my bladder were killer cysts. But my mother simply thanked God and forgot to curse him for making her sell the house, or thinking she was going to die, or for forcing her to itemize all of her assets for her descendants. No. Cancer to kidney stones. Prayer changes things. I will give an inch, so to speak, and admit this. If you have ever read certain self-help books, such as The Secret or Think and Grow Rich, these in particular talk a lot about the law of attraction and how what you put at the center of your mind's eye tends to materialize in your path if you're open and willing to seek a bit. Things like imagine your best future and start making a plan to achieve it. This is basically just setting goals, but to the untrained eye, a successful venture into self-help may convince a person that a higher power is looking out for them. Again, I would chalk a lot of this up to confirmation bias and power of positive thinking, but even so, it can be impossible to retroactively convince somebody that their success story wasn't guided by the hand of God and the power of prayer. Prayer seems to have the think and grow rich effect, in that whatever you consciously focus on, and especially out loud, you have a seemingly increased chance of finding the solution or desired outcome. But even that's being said, an amputee will never grow a limb back. Muttering a few words to the voice in your head will not land you the job, the house, or the life partner you seek. And prayer cannot change cancer to kidney stones. Sorry, Mom. Trust me, if prayer did change things, I would have prayed away all y'all's stupid years ago.